Hey everybody, Sean here, Boosted Miata, and I just wanted to post a really quick follow-up review on this S8 Premium Atoto 10.1-inch Android head unit. I just posted a review last week. I've had it in the car for about 7 days. I've been using it ever since, and I got to tell you, I still really like it, but there are some issues. I found a few things that I want to talk about, so come on, let's do this. Number one really is the screen. I think, and it's not the screen so much as the screen brightness. It is very bright, especially at night. And in the stock configuration, this thing is way too bright. Now you can see I currently have it set up with the Agama car launcher. This is an aftermarket app that you can buy on the Play Store. I like it because, as you can see here, I can put it in a dark theme and you can kind of control it, because when you don't, and if you have a light theme or a light background on the screen at night, it is very, very bright. I mean, brighter than I've ever experienced with any kind of screen. And the controls, as you can see here, I have it, it's the middle of the day, I have it at about half brightness. Even at the dimmest, during the day, it's fairly viewable. That might be a little dim for some people, but at about half brightness, it's about right. At night, this thing has to be all the way down, and even at its lowest setting, it's still fairly bright. So something to consider, that when you do install this head unit, you're going to want to stick with a dark background for your main background on here, or get a car launcher like what I have here, this Agama, where you can actually select the theme. And in fact, you can go in to the head unit and go into the theme editor, and you can select a separate theme for day or night. So this allows you to have a little more control, and it works kind of like an OEM system where it senses when it's daytime and when it's nighttime, or when it's dark out, and it will switch into a darker mode so the screen isn't so bright. I currently just have it set on a darker theme all the time because I find the screen is so bright that I really don't need it to be in a lighter mode much at all. Another thing that is more of a bug, and I'm not sure if the bug is with Atoto or if the bug is with these apps that I use, but when I'm using one of my music apps, for instance, my Amazon HD music app, this works great. It sounds great, but the problem is the forward and back track selection button on the screen doesn't work 100% of the time. It'll work sometimes. It'll work maybe half the time, a little less than half the time. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't work. And I also noticed on Pandora and also Sirius, it has the same issue. However, if I use the built-in music player on the Atoto, the one they provide with it, it seems to work all the time. Also, when I'm using my power amp player, and this only plays local files on my head unit, this seems to work fine as well. Never seem to have an issue with the track buttons using power amp for my local FLAC files and MP3s that I store on the head unit. So that's another issue, is this track selection button not being 100% working on streaming apps. Again, not sure if that's an Atoto problem or if it's an app issue or if it'll be sorted out. I'll probably hit up Atoto and say, hey, what's up with this? And see if they have it as a bug, and maybe they'll come out with a fix for it. One last thing I've noticed is that the CarPlay app on this head unit, called Zlink, doesn't launch automatically when you plug in your iPhone all the time. Sometimes it will, but most of the time it does not, which is odd because when I tested it on my bench in the garage, it seemed to work fine. But now I've got to manually launch it most of the time, and it's kind of irritating. One last thing I wanted to do was cover the settings on this Atoto head unit. In my previous video, I didn't really get into it. I made the assumption that this head unit is similar with the settings as the previous version, which was the Atoto A6. Well, I was wrong. Actually, it's quite a bit different. There are some significant differences, both in terms of the settings on this thing, also in terms of some of the functionality, which I'll cover right now. The first thing I want to talk about is the ability to do multitasking or split window actually. So what you can do, for instance, you can go into an app. So let's pick an app to go into. I'm just going to pick my favorite, which is YouTube. Go in there. So I got YouTube up. Now what I can do, you see here, you get the square button, which is your task window or your open apps windows. So you just click on that square button there, and it shows multiple apps that you have open. And what you can do is just swipe down on one, and it brings up this multi-square, two squares together right here. Click on that, and this will take it into the split window view. Then over here on the right side, it shows other apps that you can share this space with. So for instance, I can go into Maps, and now I've got a split window. I'm running Maps with YouTube. So yeah, I mean, it's the Android split window view that's actually been around for a while, but it just hasn't really been deployed on a lot of head units. It's kind of new to head units, but it's been on Android, I think, since years. It's been at least 3 or 4 years. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings in this Atoto. So we'll go ahead and open up the head unit settings here. WLAN, this is Wi-Fi. So you click on there, and it will bring up all your Wi-Fi settings, your Wi-Fi preferences here, and then available networks, and then your saved networks. These are networks that you've actually saved passwords on. Down here, it has data usage. So this will show Wi-Fi only data usage here, if you need to track that. Then more. So more will take you into your mobile network. So this is the software that controls how you use your cellular connection. Now this Premium, S8 Premium, does not have 4G capability, but some of the higher trim levels do. I think the Ultra and the Pro have 4G capability, and this is where you would access that data network settings. And if you want to set up hotspot, you can do that with this head unit as well. Okay, we'll go down into device. So here you have display. Now, display will control your wallpaper background. Also, it has a screensaver function. So you can go into a black screen, which would be helpful, I guess, if the screen is really bright and you're driving at night. Maybe you want the screen just to go off. You can set the timeout here, so it'll go completely off. Now, I'll go back to display for a second. One thing that is missing here, and this is one thing that they've eliminated on the S8, and that is the use of the illumination wire, or the illumination trigger. So the illumination wire on your harness plugs into the illumination wire on your vehicle, and this is generally tied to your headlights. So when you turn on your headlights, it sends a signal to your radio to say, hey, headlights are on. Why don't you turn on like the background light on your display or something like that. And so Android head units have used this traditionally to just, do something like dim the screen or something like that. But for some reason, Atoto seems to have eliminated it. So even though they have the illumination wire on the harness, there doesn't seem to be a way to connect with it through the head unit itself. So that's kind of a negative. I'm not sure why they did that. Going to sound, text sound, this turns on the little beeps that the screen makes when you touch it. Loudness. Now, loudness is the standard loudness that you have on a lot of receivers now. It's just that bassiness that you can add, kind of brings up the low end of the spectrum, kind of brings it up a little louder. Amplifier turn on. This would turn on your amp if you're running a separate amp and you have a trigger wire attached to it. This would turn it on here. Audio setup. Now, this is a little more involved than what you had on the previous versions. Of course, you've got the equalizer here. Then you've got time correction. So time correction is a way of controlling how quickly the speakers get their sound signal. So you can control it for all your speakers, your front left, front right, rear left, and rear right. Also, you have, which essentially this little rear speaker boost. It's almost like kind of like a fade, except instead of making the volume quieter in front and louder in the back, all it's doing is actually increasing the volume from the back. So you're not losing overall volume. You're just punching up the volume from the back. It's actually a really clever idea. You've got bass boost here. The sound field. Now this is more of the traditional fader. It allows you to control where your seating position is in the vehicle. You can see here I have it kind of in the middle to the right. And you can adjust that any way you want. But that's more of the traditional fader control. And then you have a bass filter, and this will allow you to, if you're over bassy for whatever reason, you listen to something that's really bassy, or if your system's producing a lot of bass, you can filter out some of that bass here. I don't have that issue, so I don't filter anything out. Let's go to general. So disable video playback while in motion. That's to turn off any video while you're driving. Navigation auto start. This will automatically start your navigation app when you turn on the head unit. Display on-screen time. I have that on all the time, so I have my time displayed at the top. Mirror display of the rear camera. So if you have a rear camera attached, this will flip it around to make it look like a rear view mirror. Display the front view after reversing. So what this will do, if you have a forward camera set up, this will actually turn on the front camera for a few seconds after you've been in reverse. So it's a way to see what's in front of you after you've been in reverse. It has a rear camera guideline switch. This will turn off the little guidelines. Some rear cameras have them already built in, so you'd want to turn it off here or keep it off if you have a camera that has built-in guidelines. You have a static reference line. This is different from the rear camera guideline. This is just static. It doesn't move at all. It doesn't swivel with the steering wheel. Here is the touch gesture switch. Now, touch gestures are multi-finger gestures you can use on the screen to control various functions like zooming in, zooming out, and things like that. I'm not using it because it's a little involved, but it's a way of just controlling how your screen reacts to 2 fingers, 3 fingers, etc. Default volume on start. This is your how loud you want your volume set on your head unit so it doesn't blast your ears when you get in. I generally don't have a problem with that, so I leave it off. Audio mix for navigation and media. So this is interesting. I'm still kind of working with this a little bit. I think I have it set up about right. But what this does is control the loudness of your navigation versus your media player. So if you don't have this set up right, when your navigation, like your Waze or your maps come on and start speaking to you, it can be very, very loud and like almost too loud, blow your ears off. So this allows you to control the ratio of the navigation sounds to your media player, your music. And I think 13 is about right. That's about a little further than in the middle. And it seems to be about right for me. Mute audio while reversing just turns off the sound so you can concentrate on backing up, I guess. Panel illumination, I covered this before. This allows you to set the color of these LED lights on your buttons here. Set up steering wheel keys. This allows you to program your steering wheel keys here. I don't have that set up at the moment, so I'm not worried about it. Here you can specify your default navigation app. So this is how it knows how to launch your app. And I think it may also have to do with the audio control as well. So user and accounts, I'm not going to go into this. This is all pretty standard Android stuff. System, you can set your date and time, select your time zone, etc., etc. Use 24-hour format. Accessibility, these are all your vision and hearing things that you can set up. Screen lock. Now this allows you to turn on the screen lock, and the head unit will actually unlock when it connects with your phone via Bluetooth. I don't want to use it. I'm a little scared. I don't want to get locked out of this accidentally. This shows your current device status, the name of the unit, what Android version is running, the build number for the Atoto UI, more system information, CPU, MCU, your Bluetooth, system update. They don't have an over-the-air update, you have to go to the support site and look for updates there. System startup logo. Here you can select your vehicle's logo. You can also drop a logo of your choice into the logo directory if you want. But yeah, that's it. That's my quick little follow-up review on this Atoto head unit. Like I said, I'm pretty satisfied with this. There are a few issues. The screen brightness is definitely one. The bugginess related to the track selection button on certain music apps that I use. Also, the CarPlay thing is a little bit, it doesn't bother me a lot because I don't use CarPlay all the time. But if I did, I think that would really bother me and I'd want that sorted out. But other than that, it's great. It sounds really good. It definitely sounds better than the A6 Pro, like I've said before. So overall, I'm fairly satisfied with this thing. I'm sure they're going to work out some of these issues as well. In a later video, I think I'll talk about car launchers because I think this is really important, especially on a large screen head unit like this that produces a lot of light. Being able to control the look of it, going with a darker theme, I think is really important. And there's some really cool car launchers out there that you can use. So I think I'm going to do a follow-up video on just car launchers pretty soon. But for now, that's it for the moment. And as always, thanks for watching.